Hey everyone, it's Justin here from Number Crunch Nerds, and in this video we're going to be covering how to prepare Form 1099 miscellaneous for rents in TurboTax. We're also going to cover one common exception to filing the form at all, and then two special situations. If you enjoy this video, please like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments below what other tax topics you'd like to see me make some videos about. All right, so if you want to prepare Form 1099 miscellaneous, that's going to be in TurboTax. I'm using the TurboTax Home and Business Edition. This is the 2023 edition. There is an area where you can file forms W-2, 1099 NEC, 1099 miscellaneous, all right? And the business info section that you enter, that is going to be for your business. So the business that's actually going to issue a W-2 to an employee, issue a 1099 NEC to an independent contractor, or issue a 1099 miscellaneous for a variety of different kinds of payments. In this case, we're going to be talking about paying rents. Okay, so the business info, I went through how to enter this information in one of my videos on the 1099 NEC, so you can just search on YouTube for Number Crunch Nerds 1099 NEC. If you want assistance filling out this tab, this is pretty straightforward. This is just information about your business. For this video, we're going to focus on this tab right here, the 1099 miscellaneous. So once you say that you want to file a Form 1099 miscellaneous, and I'm actually going to back up one screen here. This is the first screen you may encounter. If you're actually going through these tab by tab by tab in the order that TurboTax will present them to you, eventually you will arrive at this tab. Do you want to prepare a 1099 miscellaneous form? Use the 1099 NEC to report independent contractor or non-employee compensation. I cover that in other videos. That's for independent contractors who you're paying for services in most cases, the 1099 NEC. The 1099 miscellaneous is for a variety of other things, as I said, prizes, awards, royalties. There's a variety of stuff. We're going to talk mostly about rents. So do you want to prepare a 1099 miscellaneous? Yes. We're going to click continue. Okay, use the 1099 NEC to report independent contractor. We already talked about that. Prepare the Form 1099 NEC for payments made during 2023 for, here's what we're going to talk about, rental payments for office space or office or farming equipment or over any kind of equipment, really any kind of rent. And we're going to go to irs.gov and we're going to take a look at a little bit more detail. But this is basically any kind of rent. So let's say we have rent and we're renting an office space. We're renting any kind of equipment. It doesn't have to be farming equipment. We need to file this form. But I want you to note down here that it says do not include amounts paid electronically, i.e. through debit or credit card, PayPal, Square, or Venmo, or Zelle, or any of those third-party payment processors. And I want to show you why before we continue. Let's go to irs.gov, and right here, what I want you to look at is exceptions, okay? This web address will be in a link below this video, so you can go check that out, the source, but this is irs.gov. It says exceptions. Some payments do not have to be reported on Form 1099 miscellaneous, although they may still be taxable to the recipient, okay? Payments for which 1099 miscellaneous is not required include all of the following. There is a laundry list of special exceptions here, but the one I want to talk about first as it relates to this statement about electronic payments is right down here. Payments made with a credit card or payment card and certain other types of payments, including third-party network transactions, in other words, PayPal, Zelle, Square, Venmo, all those third-party payment processors. Those must be reported on Form 1099-K by the payment settlement entity, okay, and are not subject to reporting on Form 1099 miscellaneous. Okay, so this is very important. Must be reported on Form 1099-K by the payment settlement entity. Okay, so if you pay rent on an office building, an office space, farming equipment, building equipment, any kind of equipment, and you pay with a credit card, you pay the vendor with a credit card, or you pay by PayPal, Square, Venmo, Zelle, whatever, then PayPal, Zelle, Venmo, Square, Visa, MasterCard, American Express, all of these, they actually have the responsibility of filing this 1099-K, all right, which effectively reports, I shouldn't even say effectively, it reports the payment that you made to the person that received it, which relieves the burden of you having to file the form, okay? So really, it's only if you made a rental payment in cash or in a check is probably very common. If you pay by check, even an electronic bank check, because an electronic bank check, there is no reporting requirement on behalf of the bank to file. There's no like equivalent of this 1099-K. The bank is not going to file any form that says you wrote an e-check. So a check or cash, which are especially check, very common ways to pay something like rent, that is what causes you to have to file the 1099 miscellaneous. If you pay through a credit card or a third party, a processor, they have to file the 1099-K, which means you are not required. It says, and are not subject to reporting on Form 1099 miscellaneous. This is right off the IRS website. This link will be in the description below so you can check it out. That is a big out right there. But assuming that you paid by check, or maybe you even paid by cash, which is a very common thing to do, then you are going to be subject to filing this form. And, going forward, 2024, 2025, you might say, you know what? Instead of paying by check, maybe I'll just start paying by third-party payment processor, and then I don't have to file this form every year. So that's something to consider. For this video, we're just going to assume that you paid by check, you paid rent of some kind by check, and therefore you have to file this form. So let's hit continue. All right, in order to enter this information, you're going to need the recipient information. You're going to need the full name, business name, tax identification number, which could be a social security number if you're paying rent to a person. It could be an EIN if you are paying rent to a business. This is probably the most common scenario, is you're going to have some kind of EIN number, but you're going to have to ask the recipient what it is. What is your EIN number, so I can put it on this form, and they have to give it to you. And there are some other items here that are probably much less common. It's basically going to be social security number or EIN. All right, you're going to need the total rents paid to that particular vendor in 2023. You're going to need any income tax withheld on the payments. For most people, that's going to be zero. Probably you did not withhold any federal, state, or local income tax. If you did, you're going to have to know what that number is. You're going to want to have business expense records. That could be QuickBooks. That could be the shoebox full of receipts. That could be an Excel file, a spreadsheet, some kind of documentation where you keep track of this, even a bank record that shows you made these payments and can total. It can come to the total of what you're going to put on this 1099 miscellaneous form. All right. It says recipient copies of Form 1099 miscellaneous, which happens to be copy B, must be postmarked by January 31st, 2024. So you have to send this to the vendor, like to the landlord, the company that collected the rent, the rental payment, the business that collected the rent. They need to receive, it needs to be postmarked, the copy you have to send them by the 31st of January. The ones you file with the IRS have to be postmarked by the end of February. So you have an extra month only on 1099 miscellaneous, okay? If you've been watching my videos on 1099 NEC, don't get confused. 1099 NEC, both copies, the recipient copy and the IRS copy, January 31st. On 1099 MISC, miscellaneous, specifically, the recipient copy is January 31st. The IRS copy is February 28th. I don't know why anybody would wait a month. Just do them both at the same time. There's no reason to wait. Ideally, best practice, just get them done by the 31st. Then you never have to think about them again. All right, continue. All right, so let's enter some recipient information. This is going to be the company or entity that you paid the rent to. So I'm going to put some information in there. All right, so we got John's Commercial Real Estate. Typically, a business will operate with an EIN. This is an employer identification number. You're going to have to get this number from them, put in the address for them. If you don't want this information to automatically carry to next year for TurboTax, you can check this box, do not transfer it to 2024. Otherwise, if you still are going to need this next year, then you can just keep this box unchecked. Continue. All right, did you receive a TIN notice for John's Commercial Real Estate? A TIN is a notice that you will get from the IRS if John's Commercial Real Estate, or whoever your vendor is, gave you incorrect information about their name, about their social security number, about their employee identification number, information that was wrong in a prior year, and the IRS sent you a notice about what's called backup withholding, and you're going to have to withhold some taxes on these payments that you made to John's Commercial Real Estate. If you want to know more about that, I'm going to say that's going to be the exception rather than the norm. So most people are just going to answer no right here. If you did get one of these, just search on YouTube for Number Crunch Nerds TIN. I received a TIN and TIN notice. And I have a video up there about how to deal with that. So for now, I'm just going to say no. All right. Did your business make any direct sales totaling $5,000 or more of consumer products to John's Commercial Real Estate during 2023? John's Commercial Real Estate has no permanent retail location, and you sold the goods on a buy, sell, deposit, commission, or some kind of a commission basis. What this is all about is, just imagine this scenario. You sell $5,000 of goods or more to John's Commercial Real Estate, or whatever the business is called, on some kind of commission basis where they're going to go and try to resell it for more, right? And they have no permanent retail location. So there's like no way for the IRS to like really keep track of them that well. You know what I mean? And so what the IRS will make you do is, if this particular situation applies right here, they're going to make you report this on a Form 1099 miscellaneous. For now, we're talking about paying rent, okay? We're not talking about direct sales. So I'm going to just say no for this video. Okay, and here we are. This is the place where you will finally enter the information. So let's just say that I have paid $25,000 to John's Commercial Real Estate over the course of the year. Remember, this is the cumulative amount that you have paid for the entire year. So, just to make the math simple, let's say it's $24,000. So you're paying $2,000 a month in rent, and then you add those up for 12 months, $24,000. And of course, you paid by check or cash. If you paid by an electronic form of payment, like a third-party payment provider or a credit card, you wouldn't have to fill out this form in the first place. So you paid $2,000 a month. You paid by check or cash, $24,000. That is what's going to go in here. If you withheld any kind of federal, state, or local tax payments, you could click this box, and there are fields down here where you can enter those numbers. I'd say for almost everybody, that's probably going to be just blank. Most people don't withhold on these kind of payments. If you do withhold, make sure you're remitting that withholding to the federal, to the IRS, basically, if it's federal, or to the relevant state or local taxing authority. If you're filling out the 1099 miscellaneous for some other purpose, you would fill in one of these boxes as applicable. For this video, we're just talking about rents, so we're going to put it in there. Let's hit continue. Okay, and here is your 1099 miscellaneous summary. So if you have more than one 1099 miscellaneous, because let's say this is for your building you're paying rent on, but you may rent machinery, you may rent other things, you may have more than one business or individual that is collecting rent from you, you will have a list with multiple 1099 miscellaneous right here. So we're going to hit done. Okay. Is 2023 the final year you need to file the Form 1099 miscellaneous? Well, in most cases, that's probably going to be no. Like if you're going to keep renting from this individual next year, you would just hit no. If it happens to be the last year, you can hit yes. And interview complete. So this is going to be the end. From this point forward, it's just going to be checking your information before you finally get over here. The analysis tab is where TurboTax will check the validity of your information. And then over here is where you're going to file. So that's very simple. That's how you fill out 1099 miscellaneous for rents in TurboTax. Now, let's talk about the two exceptions. We already talked about the exception for the 1099K. That's so you don't have to file a 1099 miscellaneous at all. Okay, but there's a few special situations that I mentioned earlier. Two special situations, if they apply to you, you will find this information quite relevant. If not, that's probably all you need to know about the 1099 miscellaneous for rents. When you get to this filing screen, it'll give you instructions on how to file. You could paper file these if you're using the desktop version. If you're using QuickBooks Online, you can file them electronically. Probably the easiest route is to file them electronically if you want to do that. All right, so we're back on irs.gov. Here are instructions to the 1099 miscellaneous, and I want to specifically look at Box 1 rents. The two exceptions, if you're interested in these or these apply to you, are going to be you have to file the form for if you pay rents, any type of rent, $600 or more. For example, real estate rentals paid for office space. However, here's the exception. However, you do not have to report these payments on the 1099 miscellaneous if you paid them to a real estate agent or a property manager. But the real estate agent or property manager must file the Form 1099 miscellaneous to report the rent to the property owner. Okay, so this is for you if you're filing, if you pay rent, but you are paying it to a real estate agent or a property manager who manages that property for somebody else, then guess what? You are off the hook for filing that Form 1099 miscellaneous. But you know what? I would make sure to check with the person that is collecting the rent from you, this real estate agent or this property manager. I would make sure to check with them that they are handling the filing of the 1099 miscellaneous. They should be. These are both real estate professionals, and they should know that they should be filing that form, and it's their responsibility to file that form, but you should check anyway. And the second exception is going to be machine rentals. For example, renting a bulldozer to level your parking lot. If the machine rental is part of a contract that includes both the use of the machine and the operator, then prorate the rental between the rent of the machine. Report that in box 1 right here, meaning box 1 of 1099 miscellaneous, and report the operator's charge in 1099 NEC box 1. So let's look at an example of that. Let's pull up this spreadsheet right here. Okay, so let's say you have a contract, you're renting a bulldozer, whatever, some kind of machine, and it somehow involves the rental of the machine itself plus some charge for the operator. Now, here's the contract price. This is just an example. Let's say it's $10,000. If you can look at the rental contract and you can see something that looks like this, okay, it has a breakout. Here's the equipment rental, $7,000. Here's the operator charge, $3,000, and there's the total, $10,000. This would be the most ideal situation. This tells you this equipment rental is going to go in box 1 of the 1099 miscellaneous, and this operator charge is going to go in box 1 of 1099 NEC, because this is an independent contractor, and this is the rental of a machine, even though the company may have actually included them like in the same contract. Okay? So if that was the case, you would go back here, and in this section on Form 1099 NEC, you would add another 1099 NEC. This is one that I did in a previous video specifically about 1099 NEC. But I would just click this, I'd add another one. Here we go. Now I'd add, Fred's Bulldozer Company, and I'd put in all this information, and I would put, $3,000 as non-employee compensation in the 1099 NEC tab. And then after that, I would go to the 1099 miscellaneous tab. I would add another 1099 miscellaneous and, Bulldozer Company again, but this time box 1 is going to have $7,000 for the rental charge that was paid. So it's not a complete exception to filing Form 1099 miscellaneous. In fact, it requires you to file 2 forms, one miscellaneous, one 1099 NEC, if you happen to have charges related to a person, basically an independent contractor performing services, plus an actual equipment rental on the same bill. Okay, and even if these were on 2 separate bills, if you got one bill for this, one bill for this, that would be the same. 1099 NEC for $3,000, box 1. 1099 miscellaneous for equipment rental, box 1. Okay, if the contract does not provide this breakout, and let's just say it says this, 10,000, but you know that part of it was for the operator charge, the best thing you could do is just call the service provider and get a breakout. Just have them tell you what this is. That would be the simplest thing. Okay? If they won't or can't or whatever, then you want to make a reasonable estimate based on prior experience or a similar experience. If you rent a piece of equipment, chances are you may rent pieces of equipment regularly, and you know that there has to be a breakout like this. And so if they don't provide one, you can just estimate what it probably would be based on experience. That would be kind of like not the best case, but if you have no other choice, you could do that. Worst case, just make sure to report the full 10,000 somewhere. Okay? If the contract just says this and there's no breakout, and you don't know what else to do and you can't get the information from them or whatever, just make sure to report the 10,000 somewhere. I would probably just put it on 1099 miscellaneous in box 1 as a rent. Actually, is it box 1? Let me go back and check because I've said box 1 a couple of times here. I had to type in the information there just to get this to move forward. No TIN. No on that question. Oh, it is. Okay, box 1. Just making sure. So rents go in box 1 of Form 1099 miscellaneous. So worst possible case scenario, you can't get any better information than the single number. At least report that on the form. That way, if you ever have any issue, you've made a reasonable bona fide effort to comply with your reporting responsibility. And, in some cases, that's the best you can do. So I would just put the 10,000 right here. And then as you progress forward here, TurboTax will do its analysis to make sure that you've filled out all the fields appropriately and all the information is in there. And then it'll take you right here and you can file your 1099 miscellaneous.